What is up, champs? I am joined by my good friend in New York. We actually met in San Francisco, but
We did.
from a once thriving metropolis, functional society. But I'm joined by my good friend Amaraj Judge, former Microsoft PM over there in New York. How you doing today, man?
I'm good. How about yourself, Rich? Really happy to be able to get on the call with you.
Anytime, man, anytime. I'm doing good. I'm here in LA right now. How's the weather right now in New York?
Honestly, it feels like we're finally leaving summer and getting into fall. I can't complain. I always like it a little bit cold, and it also means I have a little bit more time to stay indoors, a little bit less likely to get out there and try to enjoy the good weather. So it's definitely starting to become grind time over here on the East Coast.
Oh man, it's always grind time in the East Coast. Out here in LA, ain't nobody working. All right. So today's podcast topic is basically going to be about, I would say, the most profitable AI hustles that product managers can take to not only escape the 9 to 5 grind, but to stay off of it. I mean, you are the textbook, like, I would say, American Dream, man. University of Michigan, former Microsoft PM. You've done the head of product thing. What questions can I help you clarify in terms of like how to stay off of the 9 to 5 grind forever?
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, like I've loved doing product, and it's always one of those things that I feel every product manager at some point's like, how do I, put my hat in the ring? How am I able to take everything I've learned and, you know, build something for myself? I have a lot of peers that also feel this way. I think the biggest first question, the question that comes to mind to me, and that seemingly everyone asks is like, how do you make the time for it before you even get into like the building and the doing? Most product managers that I know start early in the day and late at night, are constantly in back-to-back meetings. Like, what have you found to be successful strategies to really prioritize your time so you can actually work on something and continue your 9 to 5, or honestly for us it's like an 8 to 8 job.
When I was in tech recruiting, what I did was I I would spend, oh, gosh, I think like what I did first was I would log my time every single day, like every hour of the day from the waking moment. This is something that all CEO coaches or executive leadership coaches, I don't care if you're like Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg, like whoever it is, they tell you to do first is just log in your time. I think the common mistake is like people manifest like what's the perfect day looking like, or they spend all their time thinking about product market fit. You really have to have that Peter Thiel mentality of just going from 0 to 1. Right now, you don't know what one looks like. You don't know, a lot of times you don't know what is it that you want to do. So even if you have time, you're thinking to yourself like, do I want to get into a consulting model where I'm helping businesses build out AI agents, or do I want to go out there and launch an app, or do I want to go out there and get funding? First thing you should go ahead and do is time management, which is something that really helped out because my one of my roommates at that time was an executive coach. And
Hmm.
he also hired an executive coach despite the fact that he was an executive coach. But I guess it was like there's levels to that shit, right?
Right.
And it's just while you're trying to figure out, and it took me, just to be completely transparent, it took me about 10 months to figure out what I was going to do to exit while I was holding down a 9 to 5 job.
Yep.
So for me, it was just, I spent about 2 weeks to 30 days, and it was kind of hard. I probably spent about a month procrastinating on it or being inconsistent. But once I got consistent about when I woke up, like what I would eat for lunch and blah, 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 I noticed like within 30 days, I had a pattern, and then you can start optimizing your time from there. What
Yep.
life looked like 30 days afterwards was I would wake up about 2 hours earlier to just get my deep work done. At lunchtime, there was a time that I dedicated for setting up my business. And then after I had dinner, like I had gym time, and then I knew what I was going to do right after that. Um,
Nice.
so this is like, I hate to say it, but every moment that you are not working on your 9 to 5, you should be working on your business. And there's three parts of your business that I feel like is part of every business. Number one thing is you got to know the marketing piece. Like, how are you going to generate leads for your business or traffic for your business? And for me, that was the biggest part that I needed to crack because
Hmm.
there's three parts I think to any business is like lead generation, sales acquisition, and customer fulfillment, right? So
Yeah.
how do you get the people to find you? Number two, how do you close those people? And then how do you deliver on the promise? I know for a fact, since you're a proud recipient, been on the receiving end, I know for a fact I can do my outcome is jobs. I can deliver jobs. I have the attitude and the tenacity to go out there and sell people, but I don't know how to get people that are interested in my service to find me, nor do I know how to find them. So I
Yeah.
spent 80% of my time just studying like Instagram, YouTube, networking. So 80% of my thing was just spent on lead generation because I took a look at existing products and services for every niche is wildly exaggerated. Like I don't care if you're selling Sora 2 or an iPhone. You're always gonna make it seem like a 10 times or 100 times sexier than what it is, right? But
Right.
people will go out there and buy into it. So I spent the majority of my time, 80% of my time is on getting new leads and learning how to get new leads. So yeah, if that makes sense to you. Like I spent
Yeah, no, and I love how you broke it out into those like three different segments. It kind of ladders into my next question, which is like, while on the job, there's so many different aspects to product management. Are there, especially now with like how AI is trending, do you think there's certain like skill sets or certain topics or things that PMs on the job should really try to learn and get better at, which will like pay dividends when we're like looking into side hustles and potential things to explore?
yes, go-to marketing.
Yeah,
Anything that has to do with GTM. I would actually change up, if it was up to me, I would change up that terminology, that acronym to GTR, go to revenue. Anybody
yeah,
can go to market, like walk into Central Park. You'll make it there. We want to, we don't want to go to market. We want to bring home rev. Right?
right.
I would
Yeah,
call it go to revenue. But GTM is probably if somebody can finagle their way into more of a revenue driving role and just learning more about driving revenue, that would be great. Or even doing like some type of consulting work for a company, all they do is revenue. Like, I don't, have you heard of Alex Hermosi?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So I actually know a guy who's part of the product gym program. He used to be a product manager, a consulting product manager for acquisition.com.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So I would and that kind of goes back like I knew myself I knew a management consultant back in LA who would spend
Yeah.
his nights volunteering at a Michelin star restaurant in LA just to learn the ins and outs of the business of like restaurants. That was his passion, and that was something that he felt like he would be ready, willing, and able to cash out his 401k to really shoot a shot. And luckily, it became successful. But to learn the
Wow.
ins and outs of the business, right? So either you can learn about lead generation, marketing funnels, and sales acquisition, customer fulfillment, either on the job, finagle your way, where you're like, hey, and companies are very willing to support that because they're always trying to get new customers.
Right.
Or you go out there and volunteer for like an Alex Hermosi or one of these gurus because
Yep.
you have so much of the corporate background that a lot of his team members don't have.
Yep.
And they would
I
really
think
value that skill set.
I think that's spot on. Like I used to be a software engineer, worked in product for been in product for so long. Like you I really came from the school of thought, like where like, this idealized version of the product, or the product is everything, like this really like belief in this like very pure thing. And then I remember when I took my first growth role, which is so much more focused on monetization, getting that revenue, driving acquisition. I remember almost feeling a little bit dirty. It's like all I'm doing is selling. I'm not building this pure product anymore. Now I'm trying to get people into recognizing the value of the product. But I came very soon. I very soon realized like that was the wrong way of thinking about it. And instead, like one of the most important things you can do for the business, and I think in for businesses and products in general, is to be able to get it to the place where it's bringing in revenue. So I definitely agree. I think that's like one of the things that's it's become so easy with AI to build something, but I think it's still as hard as ever to go to market to get to revenue. And those things I think are still like really worthwhile learning and like becoming an expert at them. I'm definitely still far from an expert on those things.
As am I, man. I mean, because it's always changing and it's always evolving. And I think that's one hard thing for people that are product managers to now go into the business owner space is appreciating that whatever it is that you think you're gonna figure out, it will it will keep working until it stops working. And
Hmm.
there's never been a time where whatever it is that you figure out doesn't last more than like 8 to 10 days. And you'll go out there, you'll figure out this funnel, which is why we have so many course offerings now, because you'll figure out this funnel where you're printing cash, and then you're like, oh gosh, this is great. Like, we won the war, and then all of a sudden, you got to understand, like at my level of the game right now for like career coaching, it's only taking my competition now 20 days to copycat us, and then we got to figure out what's the next thing to do, which kind of brings me joy. But your real value, the real superpower is constantly being able to pivot, you know? So, one of our best performing LinkedIn outreach messages is we used to go out there and send out this LinkedIn outreach message. And it'll say, like, our unique algorithm has determined that you are looking for a product manager job. And the hilarious thing was, we printed 70 some thousand dollars within like 2 weeks of sending out that message. And then by like the next month, people would be like, what algorithm? Show me your algorithm. You know? I try to revive that shit like probably like
Yeah.
10 more times that year. And I was like, all right. My team was like, but it was a good time, not a long time. You know? So
Yeah.
yeah, so like your superpower has to constantly be like I think the fine balance of like now that you move into a business owner role is being able to know when do you stay the course and then when do you pivot? And when you have a product manager that doesn't have like that growth and monetization background that you do, or they don't like it, they kind of feel like it's a little bit dirty, or they feel like they get really frustrated. But the thing that I had to brainwash myself is like, I live for this shit. Like
Yeah.
I love this shit, like you constantly like you're figuring out how to crack that puzzle. And yeah, that's really the hard part. Whatever it is, I don't think even people realize it, but whatever it is that you think you're trying to figure out, it'll change up and it'll change up and it'll change up. And it's only changing faster with AI because it's never been easier for your competitors to copy you too. There
Hmm.
are AI tools that will scrape all the ads out there and do all the analytics of which ads perform really well and will provide and will whip up literally 8 other versions of proven ads and A/B test all of them at the same time. So,
It's
yeah, yeah.
yeah, it's yeah, I think that feels right. Like I think that's like one of the biggest things in mindset shift from the leap of going from product and taking the skill sets that like I and my peers have to trying to build a side hustle or a business full time. I think so much of so much of the skill sets that we have need like it's important to build good product, but it's more important to sell the product. It's more important to market. It's more important to distribute it. And I know a lot of people get caught up in. I see so many Reddit threads of developers and product managers like spending months just building this like great, beautiful thing, but not doing any of the work to actually market it or to actually like, really get it out there. Because that's the thing that no one wants to do, right? And at the end of the day, like that's the thing that you have to do in order to succeed. Um,
never underestimate the power of distribution. Have you heard of Cluely?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Like whenever you put like a Chinese or Korean guy with an Indian guy together, you're gonna have magic. I swear to God. Like, because you will not find a harder combination of hustle, grit, and just pure savagery. You know,
Yeah.
like, but like this is a very, very clear. Um, so the previous model was it's called product-led growth, where you have a really good product and then let's go out there and get it out there. But
Yeah.
right now, with the way that the younger generation is doing it, and I'm class of 2014 from my university days. And I take a look at these younger guys and they don't give a shit. You know, they are building distribution first and then they are releasing product afterwards. In fact, the whole reason why they got like a $15 million investment from Andreessen Horowitz was because of their distribution. They
Yeah.
actually brought in the guy that asked him, Brian Kim, on a podcast, and they're like, "Why did you invest in Cluely?" And he's like, because it's like it's a lot of hype. And the guy was like, well, you try doing that shit day in and day out and see how like see how many Instagram likes do you have? You know, uh, they have eyeballs on their shit. And so you got to build for the people right now. I would say there's no greater time to go out there and launch a hustle as a product manager because most product managers are chicken shit. Like the truth is like I get so much hate from just the product management community in general of like people that are like, he's not a product manager yet. I have more testimonials than the entire industry. So I was like, if you want to get into this racket, I mean, come on in, dude. Get ready to stay up past your bedtime.
Right. And
Not
keep,
hard to find. Like,
yeah.
but like you came to an actual in-person event in San Francisco, and I think you probably remembered like the row of like UC Berkeley and Stanford grads that are like, this is not going to work. And I was like, it's not going to work because you're not doing anything about it, right? So as long as you take action, and I think it's just so much easier to take action once I get my ass back in New York and you can come hang out at our new AI innovation lab, is
I'll
that
come through.
like what I've learned in this business is after 5 years of remote work versus like we used to have a physical San Francisco location, we used to have a physical like New York location. You got to hang out with people that embody that Cluely mindset because
Yeah.
if you're with that late 20s, mid 30s crowd, they play it too safe. You cannot be absorbed by that kind of loser energy. You got to be with the kids that are like 19, 20, 21. They literally do everything on their phone. They look at how we're working on computers right now like it's medieval. Like they're straight vibe coding on their phone right now.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I've been spending far too much time on X, and that's exactly what I'm seeing, which is so different than what I see on LinkedIn, right? On LinkedIn, it's like still business as usual. It's still very much to your point about less risk averse, playing it safe, very much like kind of like the corporate day to day. And as soon as you switch platforms, like you see a totally different mindset. So I think that's also something that's been an interesting learning too. Is like you got to see distribution. To your point, has never been more important than it is now. And I think one of the things that I've learned as I've started my own newsletter, and I encourage all my peers to do now is like today's the day. You got to start building your own distribution, your own personal network, like your personal brand. Like if you don't have that, even in the corporate environment, you're not going to be able to do as well as you want to.
Yeah, this is um like influencers. I won't name out any names here, but there's like every tech vertical has that one Asian girl that's an influencer. And the number of Reddit threads that will be started like, oh yeah, she's like the worst, whatever, right? It's like, yeah, you want to know what her job is? Her job's not being a product manager, a business analyst, or a project manager, or UX researcher. Her job is to be is a corporate influencer. That's why she will never get laid off. If anything, she does less work than you, and she gets paid more money than you, and she gets sent to like all these other foreign offices, and the guy too, you know. But and when they get laid off, you want to know what kind of content they're not making freaking videos on? how brutal the job market is because they're sponsored up the hip. So, like, if you have distribution, astronomer CEO, 24 hours after he got fired for cheating on his wife publicly with the head
Yeah,
of HR.
at the Coldplay concert. Yeah.
Exactly. Andreessen Horowitz hired him. Because you want to
No
know
way.
why? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because anything that guy is attached to right now is going to get eyeballs on it. Astronomer, they got flooded with so many calls within 24 hours of that thing came out. They posted up 37 sales roles on their website.
Yeah.
Because you had so much short form UGC user generated content online. So the CEO of Astronomer just got caught cheating with the head of HR. But what is Astronomer, right? All of a
Right.
sudden, yeah, the search volume for Astronomer, I was like, we're in this game from New York. I never heard of Astronomer. Like if I was at the corner deli getting a bagel, I'd be like, where's the Astronomer office? And some guy stuck a gun for my face. You might as well just pull the trigger. I never heard of that company. But he deserves a raise because he put Astronomer on the map.
That is true. I guess any publicity is good publicity. Um, I think with the remaining time, the final question I have for you is like, what are the trends that you're seeing of things that um you think that PMs could successfully start as side hustles? Like what, especially now with AI. I have a few myself, and I'd love to hear yours first.
What I've seen that's done very well
Yeah,
is okay, so obviously Cluely's done well. So any type of like interview cheating, uh
yeah,
because anything that augments effort, nobody's about working hard anymore. So even the illusion that whether or not these tools are actually effective, and this is actually the thing that I think like it leads to like with the time that we have left is like you don't need a perfect product. A lot of these
right.
products actually suck. And it's not
They
even the
do.
version that is being advertised on the IG or the YouTube or the TikTok video. But it's exaggerated, right? So any type of cheating tool out there has been phenomenal. Like
Hmm.
we have one that we launched, which is like a voice agent that'll do the cold calling for you for said industries and tech sales, right? It's like, oh my gosh, I never have to cold call again. Like
Yeah,
that is amazing, right? So like something that I don't have to do. But and like for companies, they don't want to train people anymore, right? So that just sounds very attractive. So anything where you have an avatar on it, that's fantastic. Uh, any type of therapist, companion, AI girlfriend, fantastic because loneliness is at an all-time high, right? So anybody that people are already using ChatGPT as a life coach, where they're
yeah.
yeah,
There was
right.
a huge backlash when they introduced GPT-5, and they originally had gotten rid of 4.0 because people had gotten so attached to that AI model. So
Yeah,
yeah, there's
yeah,
definitely a
yeah,
huge.
yeah. Those chats are also searchable on Google, but people are still talking to it because people need that, right?
Hmm.
So I would say there's that. AI agents as like a service, I do not recommend because every company has their own back end process and they also don't value back end as much as they value revenue. So like I've seen people make a little bit of money, but like it keeps going lower every quarter
Hmm.
because there's more and more people saying like they want to go ahead and do it. Habit trackers, Quitter. Quitter does $250,000 MRR every single month, helping young guys stop watching porn.
Yeah.
Right. And then I think there's another one called Stop, or like STOPP, which is like they're helping people stop smoking weed, right? Habit trackers, I think, are like extremely phenomenal. Because we would stop doing things that we know inherently are not good for us, but there's nothing stopping it. Yeah.
Yeah, those are really interesting because you had told me about those. So I went and done a little research, and I downloaded some of them, and they're such simple apps, which once again goes back to your point of it's distribution, right? It's the story, it's the narrative. Like it has so little to do with the actual product, right? Like if any product manager goes and looks at this app, they're like, wow, like that, like we're building such complex things at our company. Yeah, these apps that are so simple are doing so well. And I think a lot of that is just to what we've been talking about, where they've taken the simplicity and they bundled it around a narrative. They found like a pain point that like is that they can easily speak to. And I think that's like what's enabled some of these companies to do really, really well.
Well, I also think that there is some like I also want to back up the product management community and say this. An app like Quitter helping people stop watching porn is 2025. Let's see if they're going to be around in 2027. Because
Right. Yeah.
because Tinder right now is also struggling as well, right? So like the longevity of it, who knows? But I also think that WAP, they put like a bunch of those guys that built these, like they definitely put the Quitter guy and then the Stop guy in there into some house in Miami. They made a bunch of content. They call themselves App Mafia, and they're like, we can just drop another app. So there, I also think like with if you hang around with people that are very entrepreneurial, you're gonna naturally become very entrepreneurial because like you're influenced by them. If you're with if you're trying to think about like the best idea right now, I think it's tough if you're in an environment where you're surrounded by very corporate, well-educated brand name university peers because those guys, like when I talk to people like that, they're like, oh, there's an actual job for this. I was like, yeah, it's called product management. I was like, I guess I've been doing product management, but their app is clearing $250,000 a month, and you guys are fighting for dear life trying to get a $175,000 job a year. It's a completely different mindset, but it's the same through and through. They whiteboarded, they wireframed, there was a mock-up, there was a user story, they went to market. All in all, the skills are the same. It's just, one guy didn't really have formal training, and one guy does.
Yeah, I think there's an overlap of skills. I would say that like and obviously, like you need good product sense and good product ability to build like as an entrepreneur in order to build these things anyways, right? Like people need to use your product and actually enjoy using it. So I think that element is true. I think where it diverges and why like it's difficult to get an entrepreneurial mindset when you're in the kind of sphere of product management in the corporate world is that so much of that job, especially at a higher level, deals with strategy and communication and making sure people are aligned. And like these are like necessary things when you're working across like 10 different functions, including like sales, marketing, product marketing, yada yada. Um, and like when you're in that kind of mindset, you aren't necessarily saying like, how do I take an actual individual product and get it out there, get that distribution, get that marketing, close those deals. So I think like there's overlap, but to your point, like I also understand like why these are very different mindsets. And to your point, you have to be around the people that you want to that are gonna help like lift you.
Let me go out there and clarify this because I think like it's kind of hard for you and I to think we're the older guys now. But let me also clarify it from another vantage point. Product management from a corporate sense was built for a customer of a different age demographic as well. We have to understand how 18 and 19-year-olds are transacting dollars for products and services because they're the ones that are spending money. The guys like you and me that's making a few $100,000 a year with a crypto portfolio, we feel broke. The guy that has no money, not having a job, living at home with his parents, they are the ones going on Klarna and Affirm, spending 30 bucks on a smoothie at Erewhon and freaking going to Coachella and spending $120 on tacos. So like we have to understand the people that are spending money are the people making no money. The people that actually have money. Look, because if you take a look at Cluely, their commercials are not them using the app. It is troll videos, dude. They'll literally have a mascot of the Cluely bear or wolf walking down San Francisco, and they'll rack up like another 10,000 downloads. We need to understand like that's the biggest thing about like what Roy Lee from Cluely said was this. if your chief marketing officer does not have 100,000 Instagram followers, you need to fire that motherfucker right now because they don't understand how the younger generation is transacting dollars. And I think that was the way that he said it with that amount of conviction. I think that's exactly what he said to Andreessen Horowitz. Like, you fucking people with your wall of MBAs have no idea. The people that you're selling to right now, they have money, but they ain't spending shit. They're the ones clipping coupons, going to Trader Joe's, watching Netflix on a Friday. The people, it's like my generation is making no money, probably like the generation that's freaking lost. They can't even get a job, right? It's like entry-level software engineering role, 7 years of experience, but they're spending money. Okay. They're absorbing content in a different way, they're transacting in a different way, and they're purchasing in a different way. And they understand that. So yeah, like the way that we're selling a product management course, a tech sales course, a cybersecurity course,
Hmm.
we're selling it to mid 20s to late 30-year-olds. The way that, and we're selling it in a way where they want to book the calls. We're providing that information that they can consume it and actually take that knowledge to a job. But if you're talking about the way that we're doing business right now, like that's how like an 18-year-old's gonna buy a course? No.
Yeah, that's very different. Yeah, you get it. Very, there's a huge divide. There's a huge divide there.
I've
And
given
I
you a
think,
lot to think about, huh?
and I
Like,
think I do think you also need to be very intentional about what is your target audience you're selling to, right? Like I think those exact reasons, like I feel more comfortable selling to millennials just because like I don't understand the purchasing behaviors, like the consumption behaviors of like a younger generation. And I think it's also important, like it's important to recognize that as well when you go out because it doesn't form like your entire strategy. The one thing I wanted to touch on though, was a few opportunities that I've also seen for that PMs like myself have been doing um, to as side hustles. I think there's a few interesting ones, kind of more in the services space, and a few that I've come across in like kind of the AI like building space. In terms of services, I've seen a lot of growth with PMs who are versed in using AI, kind of doing like consulting for like smaller companies that are trying to figure out like, okay, like what do I like what um parts of the process can I operationalize? Like what can I do so I can have almost the benefits of a PM without needing to hire one? Because a lot of times those companies are in the stages where they need to hire it, or it's just not cost effective for them. So I think that's like one area I've been seeing. Of course, similar to what you've been doing with product, Jim, there's always a need for people that are more experienced in the product roles to give some of that expertise to people that are 3 years out, still haven't really gotten more than one or two roles. So I think there's a lot of opportunity there, especially figuring out like how do you upskill if you're looking for a new role. You've done some product, but you don't necessarily have enough experience to go for like higher level roles. And I think the one other thing I've really been liking that I've seen with if you really want to get your hands dirty and actually start building things, there's a huge surgence of taking applications that have been already previously built, but figuring out like, okay, under what can be done under the lens of AI and recommendations. I think a really good example of this is Cal AI and every new age, like you scan it and immediately gets your calorie count and inputs it in a much more like novel way than back in the day when we had to use MyFitnessPal and like search their database and like upload things. I even today I came across an example. I was looking for a way to motivate myself. So I downloaded this motivation app off the Apple store and it had over 1 million reviews. So I'm like, it's gotta be good. It's gotta be great. And I open it up and the onboarding flow is like 40 questions long. It's asking me the most inane questions you could be asking me. And at the end of the day, it just gives me generic motivational quotes. I'm like, this kind of sucks. This is not great. Like, I wanted something very specific to the type of motivation I needed. And I was like, why don't they just use AI and ask me, like, hey, why do you need motivation? Like, what is the current situation you're facing? And then find me the best pull quotes on that. Maybe that's something I would pay for if it felt tailored to me. And I might just go build that next week, honestly, Rich. I'm like, I'm not like there's so many apps that have so many ratings that are just old and they haven't been adapted to like being more personalized.
some of the dumbest ideas that I've seen out there have turned out to be wildly
It's
successful.
crazy. Yeah.
I think like the most important thing is just giving uh I think like to end the call out, I think there's about like probably like two or three major takeaways I can part. Is number one, like give yourself like actual deadlines where you just gotta go.
Yeah.
And that's actually the birth of this idea of me getting into like a boot camp space was um I was binge watching I knew I didn't want to be in recruiting forever. Despite the and I was leaving like a huge safety net, like I was on track to reaching like this position, and it would just be safety security, right? And but like you do it at a cost of like, I would say 95% of your soul, right? Because you're always gonna be wondering like what if, but um I was binge watching Shark Tank like crazy, but it came down to we're driving down or me and my friends were driving down to Orange County, stuck in freaking LA traffic. It's absolutely horrible. And they're like, okay, everybody has 30 seconds to go out there and come up with a business idea. And I was like, if I had to do something with my skills right now, and I think somebody said like it can't cost a lot of money. It could only be something that you could start right now with you. Like, what do you think would be the highest chance of you being successful? And I said, if we had to do it right now, I would just start a boot camp.
Yeah.
Because I know the ins and outs of it. I've seen a lot of boot camps, the way they operate, and I think I can do a better job. And that was really the first birth of Product Gym was holy shit. Yeah, the business I should be doing is like, why should I be thinking about like friggin' trying to figure out like a new dishwasher or plunger, right? Like I should just do
Yeah.
I should just do that. Like I already have all this prior industry knowledge. So if you give yourself like if you give yourself like this deadline of okay, 30 seconds, what is it? Like you would just
Yeah.
go for it. Um, I think the second biggest takeaway that I could have for people is surround yourself with more people of like where it is that you want to be because the best ideas are just gonna come from you talking to other people. It's kind of
Yeah.
the reason why I'm back in the States and like making my plans to retake King's Landing is so everybody that like I lived in Korea for a year and a half and I used to split my time
Yeah.
between New York and the West Coast, right? And everybody that I've met, pretty not everybody, but most of the people that I've met in Asia, they're just like inherited wealth, you know? Like I do
Yeah.
okay, but this is like freaking
So some
international.
crazy rich Asian sort of stuff.
I mean, they're not Ambani rich, but like they're not like
Yeah.
starving either.
True.
But I have a few family offices that are willing to throw their weight behind me. Like, should I make that emergency text message? Um, but they can also afford to lose it, right? But I think like the more that you're out, some of my best ideas, like why people have actually said like, why do you still until today, Rich? Like you'll go out there and take an admissions call. Like I have a full-blown admissions staff, and I was like, some of these people, even though they don't enroll, they've given me some pretty crazy ideas that I've ran and actually made money from. And what I've realized is my best ideas really come from just talking to people on the spot. So if I'm
Mm.
surrounded by people with similar values, similar type of mentality, similar type of goals, like I naturally just, I'll come up with better ideas if I'm just this is why I'm 100% for going back into the office or going back into some type of
Yeah.
environment because when you're strategizing by yourself all day, I think unless you're like Tony Stark and you're in a cave building an Iron Man suit. Like there is a time where you have to just lock down and it's just like everything, everybody out. But too much of that is actually not good. Like you got like right now where you're at right now, you're in the idea and the hustle phase. If you got to look up a motivational app, you just got to be with more motivated people, you know?
Right. No, it's
Right,
fair. I think
right,
you get caught in these loops if you're with yourself too much.
100%. That's why all these athletes, even in like solo sports like boxing or like UFC fighting, they have or like tennis or golf, right? They have like a whole training staff where they run with the guy or the girl. Like they have like a
Yeah.
whole thing because they need to make sure this person's surrounded all the time. The third biggest takeaway that I'd have from like I just think like my past is, um, dude, move like the faster you move, the faster things happen, and really being okay with just losing. I feel that with product managers, with really smart people, they're just way better at giving themselves three times more bullshit reasons why they're not going to do something.
I hate that I have to agree with that, but
Like,
it's true. It feels so real.
like when you like right now we've definitely gotten a little bit well, now we're like a legit business. Like when you met us, we're like total side hustle mode. Like I remember like whenever we really overthink shit, I just remember the times when I would just fly into like London or San Francisco and be like, fuck all you people. Like I don't give it like because like honestly, when you're taking like massive action, the only
Yeah,
thing that happens is massive results, right? Like
yeah,
I talked to you within that event in SF that I went to, within 48 hours, we pulled $150,000 liquid cash, right? Off the street on Howard between first and second by Salesforce Tower, you know? Um, and the hilarious thing was like I didn't our whole home base was in New York. And
yeah,
whenever I think about, not to like flex on it, well, I'm making myself feel good just saying it right now, but whenever we overthink things too much, I'm like, yo, we've been talking about this since Monday. It's Thursday. And honestly speaking, Zoom calls don't pay the bills. You know, like if we would have just made the mistakes, at least we would have, I'm okay losing the money. We
yeah,
would have at least learned from it.
yeah,
So, that's the one thing that I've also learned, like talking to VCs, is like that's one metric they weigh your business on is how fast you move. Because if you move fast and often, you would have made, I think this from like Cody Sanchez. She does like the boring hustle
yeah.
stuff. She's like, one of her mentors said, like, I'm not smarter than other people, but like I would have just I move faster. Like by the time my competitor figures out a better way to do something, I would have made like 18 mistakes and I would have been here versus
Yeah,
like they're still like they haven't done anything. So whenever we get really stuck and it's just like, yo, we've been spending what 4 days talking about this. Like we're not trying to land somebody on Mars, dude. Let's just go right now. And
yeah,
it's always worked out for us. 100% it's always worked out for us. Yeah.
yeah. I think that's the. I mean, those are great takeaways. I just want to say, like, I think all those are really good, but I especially love the last one because, like, what having worked in growth for a variety of functions, have working at a startup, like we know speed over everything, and that's always the motto. Because the more you output, the faster you can learn, and you can outlearn your competitors. But doing it on a personal level, like I think that is the next step, and why I love your takeaway so much because it doesn't just apply to a company; it applies to you and as well. Even for this podcast, you called me on Monday and said, "Let's do this on Thursday," right? And I feel like my mindset was so like, "Oh, we can do this next week or the week after." But no, Rich said, "Oh, we're doing it on Thursday," so we're doing it like 48 hours later. And I think that's like the mindset that I need to really fundamentally have at my core.
The speed mindset I think is like it's very important because you got to be extremely intentional, but there's a science to the expectation effect. Some people call it manifestation, but like if you tell yourself this is going to take a very, very long time, it's going to take a very, very long time.
Yeah,
San Francisco, we did it like in 48 hours. Um, I don't even think at that time we were like cleared to sell in California, you know. But like, I mean, we sure as hell didn't even have the instructors to support you guys there, right? But moving fast, I'm like whenever we go to SF, that's why I never really enjoyed my time there because everybody, and I'm so glad you live in New York now. You did the right thing. People ask me like, Rich, like you're a California boy. Why did you set up shop in like New York? And I was like, I had to. Because they'll come to like a product management meetup and they'll ask me, we'll get held hostage there for like an hour, 2 hours, and then they'll just look at me and I'm like, yo, I've been talking for 3 hours. Like, listen to me, fuck. Like, you want a product man? Open up your fucking laptop right now. Where's your fucking resume? Open up your fucking laptop right now. Okay, you see that guy? He says he's hiring on LinkedIn. Fire him a message. Like, what right now? Is like, what, you want to do it in 2 years from now? Fire off that fucking message. And this guy was like, hey, no, seriously, right now. I was like, yeah, I'll hit the send button for you. And they're like, cool. They're like, yeah, it sounds like you have your experience could be a good fit. You want to talk right now? I'm like, you see, like, you spent 3 hours asking me questions when what you should have just said is, Rich, I'm scared. I
Yeah,
just
that
don't
that is the reality
know.
of it.
But I don't, but the lack of self-awareness in the Bay Area just literally disgusts me to like I was like, yo, if we're having this conversation in North Korea, it's like, all right, so the troops do lunch at 12:37 on the dot, and they have 2 cigarettes right after they hit, half a bowl of noodles. We have exactly 8 minutes to run to the border. Like, let's go. Dude, we're talking about just sending out 100 resumes out here and you'll get like a freaking
Yeah,
interview, right? So the people that you surround yourself with is like if you want to be a successful entrepreneur, you got to surround yourself by a group of successful entrepreneurs. And in New York, I felt like everybody, whether they were in fashion, they were in the restaurants, whether they were a club promoter, whether they were in tech, because it's so freaking expensive to live there. Like everybody has like to move fast. There's just not enough time.
yeah,
So if you want to be, I would say like just list it out that I'm gonna make $100,000 before Thanksgiving, and you're gonna make $100,000 before Thanksgiving. I mean, I didn't. You saw me do it live in 48 hours.
I did.
I mean,
Yeah,
it sounds impossible right now, but when you're in that environment where it's just like, yo, let's go. Um,
yeah,
there's no reason why you can't. There's some kid right now that doesn't even have a college degree, dropped out of high school that's already doing it. So if you're in that environment, then you'll just crush it, you know?
yeah,
Yeah. I learned that thing. This is what I think in my digital nomad journey, I spent some time in Thailand and my income actually went down. Because you want to know why? Coconut water's like $1 and it's
yeah,
delivered to you. You know, I can get pad thai at the spice level that I wanted at 2:30 in the morning. And I'm like, yeah, like there's no reason for you to hustle harder. So I was like, whatever money you think you're saving, you're just cheating yourself. I was like,
right.
I gotta get back to NYC.
What's your spice level for your pad thai?
Extra.
Extra? Oh, okay.
Extra, dude. Yes, extra. Everything's got to be. The moral of the story is you surround yourself with like rock star people, you're gonna go out there and just be a rock star yourself. You surround yourself by low quality people. So all my friends that left New York, a lot of them within like a year, 2 years, they just end up moving back. One of my favorite couples in the world, they bought a house, they moved to Vegas. They're both like in tech, wildly successful. And they're like, yeah, I was like, I met them up. They're like, we have all this space, blah, 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 blah. And it was just like, the restaurants are like decent. And I was like, well, have you guys made any friends in Vegas? First thing the husband said to me was like, such low quality people. I was like, oh, yeah. It's Vegas compared to like
Yeah, to New
Manhattan.
York.
What do you think you're gonna get, right? So just move fast, dude. I'll be back in King's Landing like within 2 weeks. Uh, I'm ready to leave La La Land. There's something about just the heat, the rats, the cold, the brutality that just
Yeah.
breathes like.
The fact that you know that everyone around you is richer, you're like, oh God, I gotta keep grinding. It's a great city. Let me know when you're back and I'll come through the new workspace.
11:03 is when we are doing the event. It is going to be on I sent it to you, but it's gonna be on 31st and Broadway. I'm very happy that's where it all started for us. Just, 30th and Broadway, just 2 blocks south of New York, Koreatown. Uh where it all began. You
It all
know?
started.
That's where it all started at the same co-working space. That's where it all began. So you got this shit, dude. Just tell yourself I mindset I think is so important. I can literally talk like the next 9 years about this, but my last in-person workshop I hosted for 30 days in New York on my rooftop. I had like a succession level rooftop back when I lived at
Oh
this
yeah.
building. I used to live at the Eugene, right by Penn Station, and
Okay.
everybody was like moving. They had like a full NBA size basketball court, and
Oh,
people are like moving out. So I started talking to all my neighbors. I was like, are you guys renewing? And I was like, no. It was like, which building you guys going to? And a lot of them were like, we're not even renewing New York, period. So I guess they were cool with me. I was able to go out there and use the rooftop as a co-working space, and I was on my phone every single day, like, yo, this is Rich. If you're in New York right now and you're struggling to get a product man, any job in tech, if you're struggling, come by to our rooftop, enjoy the views, take an Instagram shot. And we actually had a lot of people come through. And a lot of people were like not applying, right? And I was like, yo, I thought you guys need a job. Like this is, I'd rather be broke and unemployed in LA any day of the week over being broke and unemployed in New York City. And yeah, so I told these people, I said, and they're like, nobody's hiring, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, all right, if I said, and every Chinese kid knows this growing up, I was like, $10,000 in a stack of 100s is an inch. And here are 10 inches. I will give somebody $100,000 if they get a $200,000 product manager job by next Friday. And every single day you guys get a product manager job before next Friday, I'll give you another $10,000. Everybody fucking ran to their computer. And I was like, so I guess we don't really have a market issue. We got a motivation issue. And somebody was like, so do I get the 100? Like, by next Friday, dude, we were doing within 4 days, people are bagging in like 30 to 40 interviews a week, right?
nice.
Yeah. And I was like, so, and then like by next Friday, someone's like, yo, so somebody bagged their first offer. And there's like, so do I get the $100,000? And I was like, did I say I was going to give you $100,000? Like, no, the reward is the job. It's like, oh, you're such an. I was like, no, 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 no. I was like,
Should have got it in writing.
no, man, you're not going to get $100,000 for me to pay you to get a job. I mean, what do you think this is, Alibaba? Hell no, dude. But the thing is, it's a motivational thing. So some way that I'll give you a motivational hack. Instead of you making whatever money you think you're making, add 5 zeros behind it. And like when I'm on a call to enroll somebody for $7,000 to take the product management course or $15,000 to do the cybersecurity course, I'm thinking like this is a $1.5 million transaction, right? So all of a
Yeah,
sudden, like I was like, oh, if you're thinking about it like that, like you just get more motivated to do it.
right.
Yeah.
I like that. I'm gonna try that out.
Do that. I'm gonna head to LA Tech Week. I'll see you
All
in
right.
New York
See you in
in
New
a
York.
few weeks. But it was nice catching up with you again. As always, you're not everybody that enrolls are people that I like, but we still deliver regardless how I feel about you. But you are one of the people that I like. I'll see you back. I'll see you back in New York real soon, man.
Yeah, I appreciate you, Rich. You take care.